You are walking through the forest alone. Strolling between the trees, you suddenly stop. There's a faint sound. It's a noise, maybe somewhere in the bushes you can barely make it out. You walk towards that sound and it's getting louder. You see something that's been covered by branches and leaves. A large metal pod? It is about the size of a human body, maybe larger. There's a description inscribed on the vessel, but it's covered in dirt, so you wipe it away and you see that the wording is in English. People often see how the past might have been better, how you might have acted differently, said something different, and subsequent events might have unfolded in a different way. Have you ever had one of those thoughts about what might have been that was especially vivid, compelling, or obvious to you? Something you couldn't help but think about repeatedly? These questions stir in your mind, but it is the final sentence of the engraving that makes you feel your heartbeat. This machine can take you back to that moment. As if the machine can read your mind, as soon as you finish that sentence, the pod opens up. There's a big green button, it's flashing, it says go. You lay down, you strap in, you put your hand on that button, you think back to that moment you wish you could have acted differently in. You take a deep breath and you push. Where does that machine take you? What would you have done differently? How would it have changed your life? The inscription on that metal pod is actually a real-life, verbatim question that researchers from the University of Illinois asked 121 participants in 2005. It might seem logical that perhaps the decisions that we can't take back, those moments that have passed us by entirely where no recourse is available, would produce the greatest amount of regret. But these survey studies actually show a different result. Researchers reason that people don't regret things that they can't change as much as things that they still can change. I mean, if you can't go back and make it any different, shouldn't you just move on? These studies showed that the top 5 regrets that people held on to were based on decisions in self-improvement, becoming a better parent, romantic interests, career decisions, and the biggest regret, which has stayed consistent in these studies since 1949, is education. So if people have the most regret for things that they can go back to right now and change, then perhaps some of what defines regret to the human experience is the opportunity for decision itself. Whether it is a decision that we have to make in the spur of a moment or a huge decision that alters the course of a life, is there anything we can do to limit our regret? Ironically, a solution may lie in a phrase often associated with thieves. Pirates are often linked to the phrase code of honor, a simple list of guiding principles for their decisions. The code of honor isn't an infinite scroll. It's easy to remember. It's concise and thus practical in the rush of a moment's decision, which basically is what life is. It's for all those moments where a path is not obvious. The right decision requires contemplation. Should I fight for this? Should I be honest? Does this deserve my commitment? A written and memorized code of honor may sound unconventional or perhaps even medieval in some ways, but imagine this. Imagine a world where there was no systematic standard for our moral decisions, no written laws. In the courtroom, the judge has nothing to reference. They make their decisions by the feeling of the day. 5-day sentence for you, 5 years for you, same crime. If this sounds ridiculous, it's because it is ridiculous. But is that really much of an exaggeration to say that most of us are doing that every day? Making decisions at the whim of a moment rather than with any real consistency? Yes, many identify with belief systems founded on political parties, religion, and personal experience. But after all that, we're still left with volumes of information. Left with the task of prioritizing what in that mix makes the foundation of our character. Come up with a list of words, of values that define your code of honor. Try to stick with dictionary definitions. Avoid ambiguity. After all, that's what this is all about. No more than 10 values. Actually, 5 is better. see if you can get those words to make an acronym. For example, if honesty is really what you were going for, but truth is easier to remember, perhaps that's what you should pick. Because to be practical, you will need to commit this code of honor to memory. If you can't remember it, it really isn't practical. That means if someone asks you what you value, you should be able to recite it word for word. Going through this whole exercise, writing down a code of honor, memorizing it, seems like a lot. And if it seems like too much, then maybe it's time that we take a hard look in the mirror and ask ourselves, really, how truly committed are we to good citizenship? If you have the same regret that most of us carry around, then maybe it's time to take these steps and decide who you want to be. Fight to live a life that you guide, not by the heat of the moment, not by impulse or the fad of the day. Decide who you want to be and bury regret. What would the world have become if we all had an individual code of honor? Is the intent of humankind actually good, and what we really need is just something to hold us to that? Could that be a part of the solution? Thank you so much for watching this video on the Code of Honor. Subscribe to us if you want to see more videos, but I actually wanted to let you know about our podcast series. That is live right now. All 8 episodes of the first season. Go to becauseisaidowould.com/thepodcast to hear these inspiring stories. But I want to hear from you in the comment section below. I want to hear, what character value do you think society undervalues the most? What character value do you think society undervalues the most? Comment below. Thank you so much for watching.